Yo up everybody, my name is TricksterShadow, and today I wanted to talk about the game of VHS. Now this game is not out yet, it's not even in beta yet. The beta is supposed to be happening soon, TM, according to the developers, whenever soon is. Hopefully it's sooner than later. And today I wanted to make a video using this gameplay in the background. This is a gameplay that was actually given to me by the devs. I believe this gameplay was actually commentated over by the devs on their own gameplay channel, and I'll be putting the link down in the description down below. It's a very good video, them talking about like the mechanics and like why they're making the decisions that they're making, because everybody that's playing this video is the developers of the game. And I think it's worth the watch, especially seeing like how competent people like making the game can actually be at their own game, because you don't always see that with developers. Sometimes developers, they're so busy making the game that they may not be as good at the game that they play. So it's good to see that these devs are at least competent and some really, really good at the game that they play. But I'm going to have this footage in the background. I'm just playing while I talk about what I want to talk about. And what I want to talk about today is actually how I feel through not only me watching VHS gameplay, but also playing in the internal playtest that the devs have allowed me to play in. And it's both the developers and other content creators. How through seeing the gameplay and playing in the actual game, how I've noticed that VHS actually does not have the same problem that other asymmetrical games really tend to have. And this even extends to like Dead by Daylight, which is, of course, the king of the genre currently. Dead by Daylight is the biggest game in terms of asymmetrical horror. Well, asymmetrical games in general, but especially asymmetrical horror. And that problem that I've noticed in other asymmetrical games, whether it be Dead by Daylight, HSH, Home Sweet Home Survive, last year, Hide or Die, Golden Express, keep on going down the list, is that in all of those games, there tends to be like two factions that form as soon as the game comes out. There's the survivor side, and then there's the killer side, most plainly put, to where the survivor side has the goal of most times wanting to escape, and the killer side has the goal of wanting to prevent escape and kill the survivors. Now, with these two very different goals, whenever the both sides do something that is very efficient or is trying to go towards the aim of completing their goal, it can seem very frustrating or annoying to the other side. So, for example, with Dead by Daylight, again, if a killer is running a bunch of slowdown perks or in like preventing the gens from getting done, or if the killer is camping and tunneling people out to try to efficiently get people out of the game to increase their chances, that scene is very unfun, very toxic, just very frustrating altogether. It's understandable why that is, because it really hampers the survivors' ability to win. It deprives them of their win condition, and it really deprives them of being able to play as well, which I think is a bigger concern for a lot of people. But of course, a lot of people play and they want to try to win, of course, because it's a game after all. And then conversely, there's also the same on like the killer side. The killer side will be frustrated at survivors running a lot of second chance perks, survivors trying to like run really early, trying to play as efficiently as possible, trying to not engage with the killer as much as possible. And that's understandable, really, just because killer wants to engage with the survivors as much as possible in order to try to win, because the more chases that you have, hopefully, the more chases that you win, and the more likely it is that you'll win the game. Now, what I've noticed in all of these games, and I didn't really notice it until I played VHS, and I realized the kind of brilliance it is that in pretty much most other asymmetrical games, the objective of the game is tied to individual spots around the map. So in Dead by Daylight, it's tied to generators and the exit gates for survivors, and the killers, their objective isn't tied to generators or the exit gates, it's tied to the survivors. And so that's why it's so annoying when the survivors run away so early or go to like a really good loop, because your objective is actively trying to get away from you. And what's interesting is that in VHS, there is no escape condition. The way that you win, it's a 4v1 deathmatch. The survivors, in this case they're called teenagers, have to kill the killer, in case the monster, and the killer, the monster, has to try to kill the teenagers, the survivors. And that's the only way to win. The monster will hit people and reduce their health, and if they lose all of their health, then they'll die. And the more teenagers the monster kills, obviously the easier it will be to win, hopefully. And then the teenagers, they have to try to kill the killer, kill the monster by applying all 4 different weapon types. So you can see at the top of the gameplay, if they apply all 4 different weapon types, then they win the match. And there's more gameplay. This game is actually pretty decently in depth and pretty well thought of, in my opinion. A lot of things, like there's like I think the bull dust mechanic is better in this game, which is the rage mechanic. I feel like there's even a revive mechanic in case somebody gets tunneled out, and seems pretty balanced. A lot of very good considerations in this game that really other developers I don't feel like would have thought of as nearly as well as Hellbent Games, the people that are developing VHS. And in that way that the objectives are both kind of the same for both sides, for the teenagers and the monster, to where they have to try to kill each other either through the stigmas, through the different effects that you see at the top of the screen, or through hitting people. I think that's very brilliant design, because it makes it to where essentially both sides of this game are essentially playing the same game. They're trying to win a death match. They're trying to use the weapons at their disposal, whether it be the weapons that the teenagers craft, or whether it be the weapons that are just on the monster themselves. And they try to use the weapons at their disposal to try to kill the other side. And because of that, it forces engagement instead of trying to actively run away from the other side and try to deprive them as much gameplay as possible so that you can do your actual objective. Like in Dead by Daylight, you want to try to run away and stealth as much as possible in order to do your generators, your actual objective. But in this, you can't run away and hide and just prolong the game, because you have to interact in order to get your objective, because your objective is either the killer or the teenagers. And it's very brilliant. Really, the only other game that I've seen do this is Evolve. I've seen Home Sweet Home also tried to do this, but Home Sweet Home, the fighting, the monster fighting the killer was more of like a secondary objective, and because it was a secondary objective, a lot of people saw it as like toxic, even though it was just normal gameplay. But even then, like, people would just leave and deprive you of gameplay. There was a lot of loops that would try to prolong the game, so on and so forth. In this game, there are no loops. Well, I want to say there are no loops, actually. There are like windows that you can use. There's no like contemporary like palettes. There's no palettes in this game like there's in DBD. There are windows that you can loop around a little bit, but this game primarily is meant about crafting weapons and trying to engage with the monster and try to pin them and try to apply the status effects to them. And because of that, you have to interact as much as possible, and so you're going to be seeing really every mistake that you make on either side. You will see why that mistake happened and what you could have done better. As a monster, for example, like right here, this monster is right here, and there are 2 ways out of this room. There's the way out of this room through the door that the monster came in, to the monster's right, and then there's a staircase down. So this room is very good for pinning, because if somebody comes up from the staircase and has a weapon, and somebody comes through the front door and has a weapon, the monster will be pinned in here. And so if the monster gets pinned in here, monster will know for matches ahead of this, whenever they play again, that they don't want to go in this room if they don't know where the teenagers are, because then they can get pinned and they'll be very vulnerable. And in Dead by Daylight, you don't really have this as much. In Dead by Daylight, you can just never like see like half of the team that's playing in the match, and the other half of the team that you never see, they pop all the generators and they escape, and you don't see it happen. In this game, every mistake you make, it'll be exploited by the other side, and you'll see why it happened. And most of the time, it happened because of your own faults. I've played in many matches to where I pushed in a room that I shouldn't have pushed, and since I pushed there, I was too exposed, and then I ended up dying because of it. And then I use that information in a subsequent match, and then I remember, okay, I can't push here, especially if I know that somebody's here, and then I don't push, and I try a different strategy of trying to move in a certain different way, and it works out for me, and I remember it. And while this game does have a learning curve, like most games, of course, this game is a lot easier at learning the learning curve, just because of how much interaction happens. Because so much interaction happens, because the game is constantly trying to get both sides to engage with each other, the learning curve is heavily reduced, and you actually learn a lot more. And whenever you make a mistake or something bad happens to you, you get hit with a stigma or you get hit as a survivor, you feel like there is a learning moment to be had there. And it's so brilliant, so good. And even if people tried to hold the game hostage, even if people tried to like not interact with the other side as much, there's mechanics that are built into this game that are meant to try to make the both sides engage with each other. And I believe, where is it? There is a moment in this game. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I think it's right here. Yeah, it's up here. I believe it's up here. The rift is forming. So what is the rift? The rift is actually a very ingenious mechanic to where a point will spawn in the map and both sides want to capture this point. So it incentivizes gameplay and incentivizes interaction. Even though interaction is already very incentivized, they have a point that spawns in the match that incentivizes interaction to where both sides try to converge to that point to capture it. Now, what do you get for capturing this point? If you capture this point, whether you're a teenager or whether you're a monster, when you capture it, you get essentially wall hacks on the other side for I think about 60 seconds. Of course, that could change in the future if the game changes. But you get wall hacks on the other side, and now the wall hacks, they'll go away if the survivors get hit or if the monster gets hit by a weapon. So if interaction starts happening, the wall hacks go away. But if you like are going against people that are really like stealthy or very like crafty and try to ambush you a lot, if you capture it as monster, you can see everybody. You can plan out your routes and how you attack them a lot easier. Or if you're a teenager, you capture, and when you capture, you're able to see the monster, be able to try to ambush them a little bit better. And also, when the monster captures this rift, or when the teenagers capture this rift, the monster gets stunned as well. And so, if anybody's nearby, they're able to capitalize on that stun and be able to do a lot better as well. And so, just by the way that this base game is designed, through the interaction of the objective being tied to the monster and the objective being tied to the teenagers, both sides trying to complete their objective by killing the other side, and by this rift mechanic trying to incentivize, see that they're stunned, trying to incentivize interaction so much, I really don't see this game being as frustrating. I really don't. Now, of course, there's probably going to be people that say, like, oh, teenagers are too OP, the monster's too OP, yada, yada, yada. There's always going to be that. But the biggest problem with, like, Dead by Daylight and other asymmetrical games is that inherent frustration in both sides trying to complete opposing goals. And when they try to, there's not two entrances. There's two, there's another entrance that I didn't see before. See, like, I don't even know all the maps. But because of both sides trying to complete opposing goals, a lot of frustration happens, and then people end up stopping playing the game because they get burnt out easier because they feel like the other side is depriving them of the gameplay that they should be going after. And this game does not have that, and I think it's amazing. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I know this is a very like long-winded video to say like why, or one of the reasons why I'm so excited about the game, but I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of my mentality to why I have so much faith in this game. I have a lot more reasons why I have faith in this game and why I think that it's so good. I'll probably make subsequent videos after this just explaining why I think this is so good and why I think this game really deserves a lot of attention whenever it does come into beta. And I may do that if you guys are interested. If you're interested, tell me in the comments down below, of course. And yeah, and again, if you guys haven't checked this out, this is a game that you should really keep your eyes on, especially if you like the 4v1 genre, especially if you liked Evolve back in the day. I think that this game is really going to be the next big thing. I have a lot more faith in this game than I've had anything. I had a little bit of faith in Home Sweet Home Survive, but Home Sweet Home Survive, I kind of figured that it was not going to do well. I think that this game is the perfect game, especially for the moment that it's in. It's going to be free to play. It's a 4v1 asymmetrical game. A very easy transition for a lot of Dead by Daylight players because it's 4v1. At least at first, this game doesn't translate well. Like, if you're good at DVD, you may not be good at this. But it's a decent transition 4v1 genre to 4v1 genre. And it's good. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it. The developers are really good people. The game is very well designed. I think the grind is very well designed. There's just nothing bad with it. Like, it is almost too perfect that I'm afraid that, like, there's something fishy going on. I don't know if they made a deal with the devil, because I'm looking for the flaws. I've been actively looking for the flaws through me playing it and through me, like, looking at the game, and I just can't find them. And that's a good thing, but also very scary because, like, where's it going wrong? But anyways, that's the end of my video. I should wrap up before I continue rambling. If you guys enjoyed the video, consider liking, commenting, subscribing, all that fun biz. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good rest of your day, night, or whatever. And if you'd like to see the rest of this gameplay, of course, I'll have the link in the description down below. Very worth the watch. And yeah, bye-bye, everyone.